So we're going to look at your options. Here in the UK, it is possible to get divorced online. The forms are all there and they're encouraging people to do it that way to keep people out of family court. Fortunately, if you're up against an abuser, the likelihood is that that won't be possible, but it will depend on the level of severity. So you did the quiz in the abuser section and you should have your results. So we're going to have a look at what that means. And I've included the graphic for you to go through, but we're looking at mild, moderate and severe levels. So mild can be settled out of court, usually through mediation. They will negotiate. It's unlikely that you would have any involvement from CAFCAS other than their usual basic checks. You can probably even have a parenting plan and custody arrangement sorted out through mediation between the two of you. If it did go any further and CAFCAS came involved, you might be able to use a separated parent course and the divorce will be agreed in full fairly quickly. Moderate, likely that you'll have at least 1 or 2 hearings. Mediation's unlikely to be unsuccessful. You probably will be requested to do the separated parents program, but CAFCAS involvement will probably be quite brief. There will be lots of back and forth over the details, particularly around finances and parenting time, but an agreement will eventually be reached. Unfortunately, for severe, those of you that have got the severe results, there will be many hearings over many years. You may be subject to non-molestation orders, false allegations, gatekeeping access to children, alienation behaviours, and just all-round counter-parenting. There will be false financial declarations, hiding and losing their income, and making unreasonable financial demands. CAFCAS will be involved. There'll probably be a Section 7 and maybe even have a guardian as well appointed. I would say you definitely need an expert if you're dealing with a severe level. There will be repeated breaches of the court order and regular back and forth to court. There will be peaks in their behaviour, particularly around birthdays, Christmas, new partner, any of those trigger points. And contact with your children will regularly either be stopped or interfered with, and the child will get triangulated into the court process. So I can see already that might be quite anxiety inducing for a lot of people, understandably so. At this point, I think it's good if you just try and take a breath. There's a lot of information, but if you know it now, it's better than going in and suddenly finding, oh my God, this is not what I thought it was going to be. It's way harder. Knowing in front that it's going to be hard makes it easier than thinking it's going to be easy and it turning out to be hard. So what we're going to look at is some alternatives. Instead of using a solicitor or a lawyer, which, you know, can prove expensive, especially if you're dealing with a severe abuser, because you spend a lot of years and time in the court process, and that adds up at, what, £150, £250 an hour. So mediation, like as we've been through, may or may not be successful. However, if you have a really experienced mediator and someone who's good at working with conflict, you might be able to mediate even with the most severe person. However, you would need to do your research on mediators, and they're not always cheap. There is government funding available at the moment, but how long that will last, I don't know. Mediation information and assessment meeting, or a MIAM. Obviously, if you're claiming domestic abuse, you can get out of mediation. There is an exemption if you can provide evidence of that, or if there's an urgent risk. So if contact has been stopped completely or allegations have been made, then you wouldn't need to do that. You could go straight for a court order. Collaborative family law or arbitration, as it sounds, it's about working together. Again, depending on that level of severity, it can and cannot work. Equally, the skill of the practitioner that you choose. That's why it's important that you choose the right person for the job. So I've included as well how to select a solicitor. And actually you could use these questions for any of those positions. So the reality is with abusers that you are unlikely to negotiate unless there are some expert skills, both from yourself and from the mediator, and court might be your best option. However, high conflict cases, which when you're dealing with a more of a severe abuser, although they are about only 10 to 15% of all court cases, they do require 90% of the court's time and resources and 90% of your time and resources as well. And that is why it's so important that you're emotionally prepared. So in your workbooks, I've given you some space to have a think about what we've talked about. Make some notes of what do you think is the best course of action. Now, this can change. This isn't set in stone, but based on what you've heard so far, what do you think is going to be your best course of action based on those quiz results as well? And then also think about who can you talk this through with, because you need a support network. You are going to need people around you who can support you. I always recommend having a variety of friends. So, you know, you've got that friend that you can just vent to. You can massively rip your ex to pieces and they'll be on your side going, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. They're not great when you're talking through the practicalities of this sort of thing because they're emotionally charged. And actually what you need for something like this is someone who's much more grounded, calm, and can be very objective, because your emotions are going to be triggered. You need someone who's the opposite of that. So have a think about who you know that you can talk to about that. And next off, we'll look at the process.